Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging headfirst into the fascinating, maybe sometimes bewildering world of content creation, specifically in 2025.
It's a world that's always shifting, isn't it?
Absolutely. And our mission today is pretty straightforward, but I think quite profound. We want to give you, our listener, a real shortcut.
Yeah, a shortcut to understanding what it truly takes to be a content creator right now, how you might start, and, the huge impact this field is having on, well, everything.
Exactly. And we've really gone deep on the sources for this one.
We really have. We've pulled insights from, a real tapestry of people, some of the biggest names who are actively shaping this space right now.
Like who?
We're talking people like Projecticoli, Naz Daily, Tanmay Pat, Ranveer Alabadia.
Wow, okay. The heavy hitters.
Definitely. And crucially, we didn't just rely on their lived experience, though that's invaluable. We also layered in expert advice from platforms like Think Media on YouTube, Varnmaya.
Right, getting that practical strategic side too.
Exactly, to cover the full spectrum.
Yeah, so this isn't just theory, right? We're talking practical, real-world stuff straight from the folks living it.
You're going to hear surprising facts, some really candid moments.
Hopefully keep you hooked. So whether you've dreamt of doing this yourself or you're just curious about how this whole industry works.
You're definitely in the right place for this deep dive.
All right, let's pull back the curtain then. First things first, it feels like we need to define our terms. When we say content creator in 2025, what do we actually mean? Because it gets mixed up with influencer all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a really critical distinction. Many creators, the really established ones, feel very strongly about this.
Like Projecticoli you mentioned.
Exactly. Prajanka has a very firm stance. She actively pushes back against being called an influencer. She says something really powerful, like, influencers are the fathers, the doctors, the mothers, the teachers. They influence children.
That's a strong take. So influence is just part of life.
That's her point. Genuine influence is a natural byproduct of living, of interacting. But the term influencer, especially in the digital space, it often carries a different weight, a different connotation.
Okay. So for creators, the focus is different.
Yes. For many, the real work, the value, it lies in the deliberate act of creating content. And then, as a result of that creation, it impacts people.
So it's less about just having influence and more about the active process of making something, the craft.
Precisely. The term influencer, maybe especially in contexts like the Bombay influencer scene, it can feel, Prajakta used the words, slightly self-obsessed.
Right.
And a lot of creators just don't relate to that label. They see themselves as artists or storytellers, maybe educators, entertainers. Their main focus isn't being an influencer, it's being a creator.
Okay. So the essence is making stuff that resonates, that has value.
Exactly. Educational, entertaining, inspirational, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the impact comes from that, not from a direct attempt to, influence people.
Yeah.
It's purposeful creation.
Got it. That clarifies things a lot. Now, with that clear, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Just how big is this world? We hear about it constantly, but the scale, it's hard to grasp.
The figures are honestly staggering, especially when you think this industry is really only about a decade old, maybe a bit more.
Only 10 years.
Yeah. And in that short time, it's already ballooned into an estimated, wait for it, $250 billion global economy.
250 billion.
Billion. With a B.
That's bigger than the GDP of quite a few countries.
Exactly. It puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. And what about India's role in this? Is it a big piece of that $250 billion pie?
Oh, absolutely. India is a colossal contributor. It's estimated to add something like 10,000 crores.
Which is about 100 billion rupees.
Right, around 1.2 billion US dollars, give or take, added to the Indian GDP from this sector.
Okay, that's significant.
And that's not all. Within that, just the spending on influencer marketing alone is huge, around 1,500 to 2,000 crores annually.
So 15 to 20 billion rupees just on brands paying creators.
Yeah. And it's growing like crazy, something like 30–40% year over year.
Wow. So India's not just playing, it's a major growth engine.
Yeah.
But is the money side, the monetization, keeping pace with that massive user base India has?
That's the crucial nuance. India is often described in the industry as a DAU farm.
DAU, daily active user.
Exactly. So a DAU farm basically means you have an incredibly high user engagement, a massive active audience, which India definitely has. But the monetization side, it generally lags behind. We talk about CPMs, cost per mil, or cost per thousand views.
Right.
Well, CPMs in India are typically about, say, 1/5 maybe even 1/10 of what they are in the U.S. market.
Okay, so you need way more views in India to make the same ad revenue as in the U.S.
Pretty much. Huge audience, huge activity. But the revenue per view, per engagement, it's just smaller compared to markets like the U.S.
Does that affect trends?
Definitely. It often means that trends we see emerging in the American creator space, they take maybe around 5 years or so to fully hit and take hold in India.
Interesting. Kind of a crystal ball effect for Indian creators watching the U.S.
Sort of, yeah. It gives you a bit of a predictive window.
So even with these massive numbers, $250 billion globally, huge growth in India, are we anywhere near peaking? Or is there still a lot more room to grow?
That's the mind-blowing part. Despite the current scale, which is already huge, there's this powerful belief, you hear it from industry leaders, top creators.
What do they say?
That we are 1% of the way there in the creator economy.
1%? Seriously, after hitting $250 billion.
Seriously. And it's not just wishful thinking. It's based on the idea of untapped potential in super niche communities, new monetization models popping up all the time beyond just ads.
Right, like courses, memberships.
Exactly. And just the fact that creator content is penetrating markets and demographics way beyond the early adopters. It suggests the real democratization, the economic potential, is maybe only just starting. Immense future ahead.
Wow, okay, a $250 billion industry that's only 1% evolved. That's something to wrap your head around. So we have this massive economy, but we also hear about all the different platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Is there like a social pecking order, a kind of class system?
Unfortunately, yes. There absolutely is. Creators definitely feel this concept of classism between platforms.
Really? How does that play out?
Well, YouTube creators, for example, they're often seen as the sort of class 1 citizens.
Why is that? Longer videos?
Partly that, long-form content, deeper engagement, often more polished production. It tends to get more respect. After them, it's generally Instagrammers, then TikTokers, and maybe Facebook users kind of at the bottom of that hierarchy.
Interesting. Does it relate to screen size at all? I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, that's an observation Kunal Shah made. The bigger the screen, the higher the status.
Yeah.
Traditionally, movies, TV, big screens, lots of prestige. Digital content was often on smaller phone screens.
Right. But is that still holding true? Is TV still king compared to digital?
It's changing so fast, fundamentally changing. While traditional media, sure, it still has respect, digital content is now penetrating a lot of it. Those lines are blurring every single day.
Can you give an example?
Think about it this way. How many millennials today might genuinely be way more excited to meet Joe Rogan than Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I can see that actually. Why, though?
Because digital stars like Rogan, they're in your ears, on your screen, almost daily, right? Through podcasts, clips. They build this regular, consistent, almost intimate connection.
Whereas Tom Cruise is maybe in a movie once a year, if that.
Exactly. It's just a different kind of relationship with the audience. It's kind of like how MTV VJs used to feel back in the day. You saw them constantly. They felt more accessible, more real than distant movie stars.
That makes sense. That regular connection changes the whole game of stardom. And it's not just adults feeling this, right? It's shaping what kids aspire to be.
Oh, completely. There's this statistic that's actually pretty shocking when you first hear it. For kids today, the #1 occupation they aspire to is influencer or creator, using our preferred term.
Number 1, above doctor, astronaut, firefighter.
Number 1, it's not just a fad. It reflects a fundamental shift in what success looks like, what a desirable career looks like. For a generation that grew up totally immersed in this digital world, they see the freedom, the impact.
And they want that for themselves.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean for someone who isn't aiming to be the next big global creator, someone who has a different career already? Can content creation help them too?
Absolutely. And this is where we get into this really powerful idea of the and economy.
The and economy.
Yeah. The old way of thinking, you're just a doctor or just a lawyer, that's fading. Today, you can be a doctor and content creator, a lawyer and creator.
So it's not a replacement, it's an addition, a force multiplier.
Exactly. Content creation has become this incredibly potent tool that can add real, tangible value to pretty much any existing profession.
How does that actually work, though? How does a doctor benefit from making videos? Well, think about it. A doctor could make short, easy-to-understand videos debunking health myths people see online, or explaining complex conditions simply.
Okay, building trust, maybe attracting patients.
Precisely. An engineer could share insights on new tech or cool problem-solving tricks. It helps them find clients, build a personal brand, establish themselves as an expert.
It goes beyond just their 9 to 5.
Way beyond. It can even open up new income streams. Imagine the guy scooping out ice cream at Baskin-Robbins. Maybe he makes amazing videos about the perfect scoop technique or flavor combinations.
He builds a following, connects with customers.
Exactly. Maybe it leads to a partnership, a new flavor idea. Content lets anyone build a unique identity and connect with their audience, whatever their main job is.
It really democratizes building a personal brand and reaching people. Could this even change politics?
Yeah.
Leadership?
That's the really bold prediction you hear sometimes, that we might soon see a creator president. Well, think about someone like Donald Trump. He was maybe an early example, using media, building a persona, speaking directly to an audience, bypassing traditional news outlets.
Okay, I see the parallel.
And creators, just by doing what they do, they get trained in really crucial skills for public life. They learn to handle intense criticism.
Oh, yeah, the comments section alone.
Exactly. They become experts at making compelling, easy-to-digest videos. They master marketing, messaging, connecting with a huge audience. It feels like a natural evolution of influence, moving from old media power to direct, audience-driven communication.
Okay, let's shift gears to the journey itself. Someone's starting out. Everyone wants that viral hit, that overnight success. Is that realistic? Is there a secret?
The hard truth. And you hear this again and again from the people who've made it. Your first video is not going to get views. Period. Your first 10 are not going to get views.
Ouch. So no magic bullet then?
None. The absolute fundamental requirement is commitment. Long-term commitment. The advice often given is give yourself 10 years at this craft.
10 years. Before expecting big results.
Yeah. It's a marathon, definitely not a sprint.
That's a long time, especially if those first videos get like 12 views and a comment from your mom. How do you stay motivated? What's the practical advice for starting?
It often comes down to something called the 100 video rule.
Okay, what's that?
The advice is simple, but really profound. Make 100 videos and improve something every time.
Every single time. What kind of
It
improvement?
doesn't have to be huge. It could be tiny, incremental. Put a little more effort into the script this time. Learn one new editing trick. Practice your vocal tone. Try a different thumbnail style. Write a better title.
Small steps add up.
Exactly. And the key takeaway is there's literally no such thing as a perfect video. Forget perfection. The goal is just continuous iteration, putting stuff out there consistently. Perfectionism is often just an excuse not to start.
That makes sense. Build momentum through small wins. But still, that discouragement, when things don't take off early, how do you fight the urge to just quit?
That's the biggest hurdle. So many people give up too soon. What they don't realize is that a video might suddenly take off months, maybe even a year after you upload it.
Really? How does that happen?
Algorithms change, they resurface stuff. Or maybe you grow your audience later and they discover your older work. There's a great example from Nate's film tutorials.
What happened?
He made a video and it basically tanked. Got only 6,000 views in the first 100 days, even though he had like 20,000 subs already. Most people would be demoralized.
Yeah, definitely.
But he kept going, kept uploading, kept improving, and later, that same video, the one that tanked, it skyrocketed to 283,000 views.
Wow. Just because he didn't quit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an incredible testament to perseverance.
So consistency is king, patience is key.
Absolutely. The ultimate recipe for success, especially somewhere like YouTube, it sounds almost too simple. If you do not quit on YouTube, that is the #1 recipe for success.
It's like compound interest for attention. Every video, every skill learned, every interaction, it builds. Even if individual videos don't pop, the cumulative effect over time, it's exponential. Small efforts turn into big results down the line.
Okay, let's talk about authenticity. We hear that word constantly. How does it work for creators? Can you really be 100% authentic, unfiltered, when you're putting yourself out there? Is it even smart?
It's definitely a tightrope walk. It's really nuanced. On one hand, you can't fake who you are, at least not for very long. Audiences are smart. They can usually tell eventually if something feels off, right?
Yeah, you can sense fakeness.
But on the other hand, pure, raw, unfiltered authenticity. Maybe not always the best strategy. It has to be authenticity to the extent that is acceptable in the societal norms. There's a really profound piece of advice creators often share.
What's that?
Everything you say should be true, but not everything that's true should be said.
So be truthful, but also be strategic about what you share. Curated authenticity. Exactly. You have to understand the performance aspect. It might surprise people, but a lot of really successful creators, they're actually introverts off camera. Very different from their on-screen persona.
Right. The high-energy person on YouTube might be quiet in real life.
Totally. Any major public interaction, whether it's a TV spot or a YouTube video, it involves some degree of performance. It's like dressing up for a party or a job interview. You present a version of yourself.
But the authenticity still has to come through somehow.
Yes, often through unique access or perspective. Think Nas Daily again. His popularity wasn't just the one-minute format. It was his unique access to the world. Showing places like Ethiopia with real immersion, his genuine perspective. That felt authentic, even if it was packaged.
But once you project an image, even a partly performed one, it can be really hard to change how people see you, right?
Oh, incredibly hard. Public perception is sticky. Ranveer Alabaya talked about this. He mentioned that even though he genuinely wanted to get married, have kids, this Playboy image stuck to him for years.
Why? Where did that come from?
From early content choices. He made videos about how to impress girls, which he actually intended as being about confidence, personality development, but it got interpreted differently.
And that label just stuck.
Stuck for years, maybe decades. It shows how content choices shape an image that can really define you in the public eye, sometimes inaccurately.
Talking about longevity, does content creation have a shelf life? It feels like platforms are always pushing new faces. Is there a constant churn?
Yeah, there's definitely a feeling of a shelf life to creator life, at least for being right at the peak, the absolute trendiest. Platforms do constantly seek novelty, new faces, new styles. It leads to these sort of batches of creators emerging every few years.
So you can't just rest on your laurels.
Absolutely not. It makes it critical, essential for creators to think beyond just their current videos. They need to actively plan and engineer your exit plan.
An exit plan from creating content.
Not necessarily from creating entirely, but from being solely reliant on that frontline content creation. It means diversifying. Moving into entrepreneurship, using the platform to get into acting, writing books, building related businesses.
Planning the next phase while you're still on top.
Exactly. Life, especially in this industry, seems to move in these 7-year chunks. A creator might master one thing for 7 years, then pivot.
Like Prajakta Kohli's journey.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Radio jockey, then massive YouTube creator, now acting in films and series. Tanmay Bhatt is another master of this. Writing, comedy, gaming, streaming, now deep into AI.
Keeps reinventing.
Constantly. Their longevity isn't about doing the same thing forever. It's about understanding the core principles of making content. Storytelling, engagement, adapting, and applying them to new things.
That makes sense. But what about when things go wrong? When the audience turns, when you get canceled? That must be terrifying.
It's incredibly common for anyone with a large platform.
Right.
But here's a perspective that might surprise you. Something you hear from creators who've been through it. They say, pushback is the most positive thing that can happen to you as a creator. If you get canceled or pushed back, you've cracked it.
Cracked it? How does getting canceled mean you've cracked it? That sounds counterintuitive.
The logic is, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. If people are actively hating on you, criticizing you, trying to cancel you, it means you're relevant. You're impactful enough to provoke a strong reaction. You've generated engagement, which, like it or not, is the fuel of this economy.
So getting canceled isn't necessarily the career death sentence, it seems like, from the outside.
Often, no, not in a permanent way. The algorithm at its core has no emotions. It doesn't care about the drama. It cares about engagement, watch time. So creators who get canceled, they can often come back next video and get the same number of views if the content is still good.
So how should creators handle it? Ignore it? Bite back?
It's nuanced. If you genuinely messed up, own it, address it, learn from it. But don't get sucked into responding to every baseless attack or manufactured outrage. The best response is usually consistent output, continuous improvement, letting your work evolve. Actions over time matter more than one backlash wave.
And maybe creators are just naturally going to attract pushback because they are, in a way, public figures challenging norms.
Precisely. You could argue creators are change makers. Just like politicians face resistance, sometimes extreme threats, for trying to make changes, creators who shift narratives or just get really popular will inevitably face pushback. Ranveer Alabadiya talked openly about waves of hate he's faced, from early videos to recent cancellations.
How does he deal with it?
He's learned to compartmentalize, focus on the work, or sometimes just use the sheer volume of his output to show he's improving and moving forward. It's part of the job description when you're impacting millions.
Okay, let's pivot to someone just starting. That first step. Figuring out what to create. It feels like the biggest block. How do you find your unique voice, your niche, when there's so much out there already?
It really comes down to some deep self-reflection, asking yourself two key questions. First, what do I know better than anybody around my friends?
Okay, so tapping into your expertise or passion.
Exactly. What are you uniquely knowledgeable about or just obsessed with? And second, maybe even more critical, what is my unique access?
Unique access, what does that mean?
It's what sets you apart. What can you show or talk about that others can't easily replicate? This is the core of finding your niche, your unfair advantage.
Can you give some examples from known creators? What was their unique access?
Sure. Nas Daily, his unique access was literally access to the world. His ability to travel constantly and share daily insights from everywhere. He could show Ethiopia not just as a tourist, but with real connection.
Right, something few others could do.
Or Tanmay Bhatt. His unique access is his comedic sense. That innate ability to find humor, make people laugh, connect through wit, that's a talent, an access he has.
And Prajakta Kohli.
Hers is maybe access of just talent to perform in multiple ways. Acting, dancing, storytelling, commentary. She has this incredible range.
Okay. How does someone figure out their access? Is there a simple test?
A practical litmus test. Think about your friend group. Are you often the life of the party? The one everyone turns to for advice on a certain topic? The storyteller. That's your first signal. It indicates you have some natural magnetism or expertise you can build on.
All right, so you've maybe identified your niche, your unique access. What next? Short videos, long videos, TikTok, YouTube. It's confusing.
For beginners, there's a pretty clear strategic path that works well. And that is, start with short form.
Like Reels, Shorts, TikTok.
Exactly. These platforms are the path of least resistance to get distribution. Their algorithms are built for discovery, for virality.
Easier to get seen quickly.
Right. And it's generally lower effort to bang out a short video compared to a long one. You can produce more, faster, which means you have a higher chance of hitting that one golden 50 million view video that puts you on the map.
And that early success must be motivating.
Hugely. Short form is great for building initial reach, discoverability, and getting that crucial dopamine hit of seeing something work, getting feedback quickly.
Any tips for making good short form?
Focus hard on the first 3 seconds. Got to hook them instantly. And think about the oven moment.
The oven moment, like in cooking videos.
Yeah. Build anticipation for a reveal, a payoff. Tease something that makes people watch till the end.
Okay, so short form for getting noticed, getting feedback, building initial reach. But what about building a real connection, a community?
That's where you need to evolve to long-form content. Podcasts, longer YouTube videos. That's the holy grail.
The Holy Grail, why?
Because that's where you build genuine community, deep trust, real affinity. People spend much more time with you in long form.
Right, it's a bigger investment from the viewer.
Which allows for deeper dives, more nuance, a stronger personal connection. And importantly, that deeper engagement leads to higher click-through ratios on links.
Ah, so better for selling things or driving action.
Exactly. There was an example of a meditation app. Their podcast drove way more sales than their short-form content, even with fewer views, because the listeners were more invested, more trusting.
So short form brings them in, long form builds the relationship and maybe converts.
That's a great way to put it. And the smartest creators often use a hybrid approach. They'll shoot longer content, specifically planning to chop it up into multiple short clips. Best of both worlds.
That makes sense. And you mentioned algorithms. How important is paying attention to what the platforms themselves are doing?
Oh, absolutely critical. You have to listen to what the CEOs of the social media say. They are the tide makers. They control the tides of what gets seen.
Like Zuckerberg saying video is the future of Facebook.
Exactly. Or TikTok pushing shopping, YouTube pushing shorts. You need to understand where the platform is heading and align your strategy with that flow. Don't fight the tide.
Got it. Okay, beyond strategy, let's get super practical. Someone's ready. What are the actual first steps, the essential hacks?
Number one, maybe the most important, just hit publish.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Totally. But you have to fight analysis paralysis. So many people get stuck trying to make the perfect first video. It never happens. Just upload something. Nothing will teach you more than uploading 5 times.
Quantity over quality, at least initially.
Yes, especially at the start. You need to learn from real feedback. Nas Daily had that famous 24-hour deadline for himself. Just forced him to publish daily.
Public commitment helps too.
Definitely. Tell people you're going to do it. Increases accountability.
Okay, hit publish. What about gear? Do I need a fancy camera? Lights?
No. This stops so many people. Equipment is not key. Your modern smartphone, it's more than good enough. Absolutely. The basics are, make sure your video is crisp, Clear, visible, and your sound is audible. Get a cheap lav mic for your phone, maybe. That's often the best first investment.
And sometimes phone footage feels more real anyway.
Exactly. Sometimes that raw, relatable feel works better than super polished stuff.
Okay, so equipment's not an excuse. You're publishing regularly. How do you sustain it? What keeps you going long term?
Find a driving mission. Not just a topic, but an overarching story, a goal, something the audience can follow and root for.
Like what?
It could be a fitness thing, like a 75 hard challenge where you document your progress, or a crazy quest, like traveling across America using 1 penny. Nas Daly's original 1,000-day journey was a perfect mission.
It gives the audience a reason to stick around until the end.
Exactly. They get invested in your journey. They want to see the reveal, the outcome.
What about friends and family? Your social circle, can they help or hinder?
This one's controversial, but you hear it from top creators. Sometimes you might need to ditch your friends.
Wow, ditch them.
Well, the unsupportive ones. The ones who don't get it, maybe make fun of it. Creator life is unique. It has unique challenges. You need people who understand.
So find new friends.
Actively surround yourself with new types of friends that are from the creative industry. Other creators, editors, producers. Build a community that gets the grind, the highs, the lows. They'll be your support system.
That's a big step. What about the job dilemma? When can you quit your day job?
Huge question. The clear advice is, don't quit your day job too soon. Save up. Save enough money so you could dedicate a specific period, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, to test content creation full-time without financial panic.
Give it a real shot, but with a safety net.
Exactly. Because the reality is, very few people are able to succeed while also doing another thing at the level required for rapid growth. You need that focus.
And if you do start making a bit of money, what's the first smart investment? First hire?
If you can afford it, your first hire should be an editor. Unequivocally.
Why an editor first?
Because editing takes so much time. It's a massive bottleneck. Hiring an editor literally buys back your time. Frees you up to ideate, shoot, engage, focus on growth. Nas Daly edited his first 750 videos himself. Imagine that.
Wow. Okay, editor first. And is it possible to make real money early on?
Yeah, it is possible to make meaningful money relatively early. Maybe not life-changing, but, $200 from a short that goes viral in month 2. It happens. It proves the concept.
Lastly, on practical tips. Appearance. Social media often feels like everyone needs to look perfect. How important is that curated look?
Counterintuitively, sometimes raw relatability beats polished perfection. Projecta Coley's Real Talk Tuesday is a prime example. She filmed it in her pajamas, no makeup, totally unvarnished.
And people loved it.
They loved it. It massively increased her relatability, the connection. It proved that sometimes just being real, even if it's not perfect, is way more impactful. It depends on the vibe you want to create.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Beyond entertainment or personal branding, how are creators actually changing society? It feels like they're disrupting traditional media in a big way.
Oh, fundamentally. They are democratizing information, breaking down old barriers. Think about traditional corporate media. It often has built-in biases, right? Political, economic.
Sure. Agendas to push?
Creators, especially independent ones, can offer truly independent thought, different perspectives, a direct line to the audience without those traditional gatekeepers.
Moving away from that information asymmetry.
Exactly. Where old media controlled the flow, now it's decentralized. And net, you have to say influencers, creators, they've had a massive positive impact overall.
Yeah.
They reach and educate generations that say CNBC never could, especially on topics like finance, mental health.
But does more voices automatically mean more division? Does this decentralization fuel tribalism?
That's the definite double-edged sword. It's just a reality that extreme opinions will get more traction online. The algorithms often reward strong reactions.
So controversy sells, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. There are usually like 6 to 7 opportunities to go guaranteed viral each year, just by tapping into really charged topics. Global conflicts, local protests, things that trigger strong emotions.
And tapping into identity works too.
Massively. Content that speaks to people's identities, nationality, job, family, beliefs, gets huge engagement. Look at Nas Daly localizing content, getting millions of followers in Vietnam, huge viewership in Russia. He tapped into national identity where local supply was low.
That's powerful. But navigating politics, it sounds risky. You mentioned death threats even for calling for peace.
Yeah, it's a bizarre paradox. Sometimes the algorithm, or maybe the human algorithm, wants war in the sense that conflict drives engagement. People crave perceived justice, or just the drama. So calling for peace can ironically get you attacked from all sides.
And then there's virtue signaling.
Right. The pressure to constantly appear virtuous, take a stance on everything. It can lead to creators signaling virtue without real substance, which can backfire or just create unsustainable expectations.
How is the audience itself changing, especially younger people, the post-94 generation?
They're a unique cohort. Way higher device usage, obviously, maybe less traditional socializing. There's often a focus on rights, less about contribution, sense of entitlement, perhaps.
Interesting. What else?
They grapple a lot with loneliness, paradoxically, despite being so connected. So they seek companionship in causes, which drives demand for very emotional, very raw content. Think podcasts, confessional vlogs.
Is there a downside to that?
Well, there's sometimes an ease of getting likes in victimhood. Complaining or expressing outrage can get quick validation online. And the overall consequence of this hyper-connected world,
What is it?
as one creator put it very bluntly, shit gets boring a lot quicker.
Huh. Okay. So creators need constant novelty?
Constant novelty, constant reinvention, just to hold attention spans that are getting shorter and shorter.
What are the hidden costs then? The darker side of this creator life?
There are definitely significant challenges, real risks. One is the gender disparity. It's often much more ruthless for women than men.
How so?
Intense pressure on appearance, way higher volumes of negative, often misogynistic comments, threats. It's just harder, frankly.
What else?
The constant public scrutiny. You're essentially growing up in front of the world. Every mistake, every old video can be dredged up. And perceptions, like Ranveer's Playboy image, are incredibly hard to shake.
And brand relationships can be fragile, too.
Very. Remember, brands are not your friends. When controversy hits, even minor stuff, they're often the first to chicken out. That can mean huge financial losses. Nas Daily lost $1 million in deals overnight once.
$1 million. Wow. That's brutal. Are there physical risks, too, beyond online hate?
It's a chilling thought, but yes. Sometimes people in the industry talk about the potential for the first content creator assassination.
Seriously, assassination.
It sounds extreme, but some speculate it might have probably already happened somewhere, maybe to a female creator in a less reported part of the world. When you become a change maker, when you have that much influence, it underscores the very real dangers.
That's sobering. Okay, let's talk money again, but the positive side. How do creators actually make money? It's not just ads, right?
Definitely not just ads. Ad revenue is a piece, but often a small one, especially for short form. Remember those 10 million short views for maybe 2,000 rupees?
Tiny. A long form is better.
Much better. 1 million long form views might bring in 30,000 to 100,000 rupees, maybe $360 to $1,200 USD. But again, huge difference between India, $200 maybe, and the US, $1,000 plus. And niches like finance or podcasts, they get much higher ad rates, higher RPMs.
So ads are a base, but not the main game for many. What is?
For a lot of established creators, brand deals, influencer marketing is the primary income. Top folks can make over $1 million a year just from this.
What kind of rates are we talking per post?
It varies hugely, but examples show a single Instagram reel for a top creator could be anywhere from 1.5 million to 4 million rupees.
Wow, $18,000 to $48,000 for one reel.
Yeah. But it depends on genre, audience, brand fit, negotiation. It's complex. The advice is always to aim for longer associations, like a marriage, not a one-night stand. Build credibility. And choose brands that actually align with your values.
Right. Authenticity matters. But you mentioned the real money is maybe somewhere else, owning the audience.
Exactly. That's community-based businesses. This is about owning the audience, directly collecting emails, phone numbers, not just relying on the platform's algorithm.
How do you monetize that directly?
Platforms like Nas.io help creators sell digital courses, memberships, maybe even group trips. Nas Daily himself said, 80% of my revenue now from these 400,000 emails.
So he makes more from his email list than from Facebook views.
Way more. And you see this in India, too. Finance with Shawn, selling courses, creators offering dance classes, meditation retreats, direct-to-community products and experiences. That's where sustainable wealth often lies.
So what's the ultimate long-term play for building real wealth? What are the models?
There are basically 3 main paths for creators to build actual businesses, not just income streams.
Yeah.
1, be the solo entrepreneur. Build your own businesses using your audience, like Nas.io.
Okay, build it yourself. What else?
2, co-founding or partnerships. Leverage your distribution, that's your biggest asset, by teaming up with people who have business skills you might lack. Tanmay doing ad agencies, advising startups.
Using your reach to launch other things makes sense. And the third?
3, being the business. where the creator is the core product, continuously building their talent, their creative output. Verjakta's acting and writing career fits here. Her talent is the scalable business.
So different paths, but the core idea.
The core principle is, wealth is made through owning equity and not through renting your time out. Branded content is basically renting your time and influence. You need to build things you own.
And start building those before the brand deals dry up.
Ideally, yes. Start experimenting early. Affiliate marketing, merch, consulting. Build those alternative streams while the brand money is still flowing.
This sounds like it eventually requires a team. Can one person do all this?
Very few can do it all long-term and scale. Remember the first hire.
Editor buys back your time.
Exactly. After that, efficient teams are often small pods, maybe 2 editors, 1 producer, focused units.
How do you keep that team loyal? Creator burnout is one thing, but team burnout must be real too.
Crucially important. Incentivize them. Profit shares, bonuses on sponsored deals. Team loyalty is vital. So many creators who faded, often an outcome of the teams leaving them because they weren't valued or incentivized properly.
That's a key insight. And if you don't want to be the star, on camera, plenty of jobs behind the scenes.
Oh, tons. Editor, producer, writer, graphic designer, community manager, executive assistant. For every few successful creators, there are dozens, hundreds of jobs being created in their ecosystem. Great career paths for people who prefer to be behind the camera.
Okay, the big uncomfortable question. Let's talk real numbers again. Nas Daily was super transparent. Can you recap his journey?
Sure. Started with 30K savings, made almost nothing first year, hit 100K followers, started making maybe 1K 2K a month, hit 1 million followers, Facebook monetization kicked in, jumped to 10K a month. By the end of his 1,000 days, age 26, averaging 80K a month.
$80,000 a month. Wow. And now his companies?
Now his companies, combined, are doing $900K to $1 million in monthly revenue. One of them nets around $200K profit monthly. It's a serious business.
That's incredible growth. What about others? What's a reasonable expectation for, say, 1 million YouTube views?
We mentioned in India maybe 30K, 100K rupees, $360, $1,200 USD from ads. But the top tier, the top 0.1%, getting 30 million plus long-form views a month, high watch time, they can definitely clear over $1 million a year from ads and brand deals combined.
So CEO-level income.
Comfortably.
Yeah.
And at that point, many choose to do fewer brand deals to focus on their own equity-based businesses. They understand the long game.
So once you're there, how do you stay there? How do you stay relevant?
Keep reinventing. That's the mantra. Every 6 months, maybe consciously switch things up. New genre, new format, new narrative angle. Provide novelty.
But it starts deeper than that.
Absolutely. Relevance starts with personal growth. The best advice is live your best life. Make videos about that life instead of living life to make videos. Seek new experiences, new friends, travel, learn. Your content flows from you.
And how do you know if it's working? If the audience is still with you?
Then listen to them. The audience is extremely honest. Comments, engagement, views dropping off. They'll tell you when something isn't working. Metrics are your constant reality check. Be humble, adapt.
It's not just about steady growth then, but also those big moments?
Exactly. Think spikes and waves. Regular content makes the waves the consistent base. But you need to actively plan for spikes, those experimental novel things that break through, attract new people.
Keeps things exciting for you and the audience.
And it links to that idea of variable rewards. One big spike, one viral hit can fuel you to keep pushing, knowing another breakthrough is possible.
Finally, let's talk AI. How is it changing the game right now and what's coming?
AI is huge, and it's transforming everything. ChatGPT, already massive for ideation, writing outlines, even drafting scripts, streamlines the process.
What about cloning yourself?
Getting there.
Yeah.
LMM training AI on your own voice, your style, your past scripts. It's becoming very, very easy to do. Soon, you could generate content in your voice automatically.
Wow. And reaching global audiences.
Game changer. AI dubbing tools like HeyGen, they're getting incredibly good, incredibly fast. Dubbing your videos into multiple languages used to be expensive, slow. Now, costs are plummeting. Maybe 100-minute now, soon, much less, maybe built into YouTube.
So you can reach millions in Vietnam, Russia, Brazil, just by clicking a button.
Pretty much. Nas Daily's already doing it with 13 languages. The cost to make and duplicate content is going to zero. Massive global reach becomes easy.
With all this AI, platform shifting, constant reinvention, what doesn't change? What are the fundamental human things that always work?
Great question. Despite all the tech, basic human psychology hasn't changed much. Successful content always taps into enduring human needs.
Like what?
Storytelling. We're wired for narrative. Always have been, always will be.
Okay, stories. What else?
Emotional connection. Content that makes you feel something, laugh, cry, get inspired, feel understood, that always resonates deeply.
And the social aspect.
Social validation.
Yeah.
Humans crave belonging, validation within their tribe. Content creation offers new ways to find that community, that shared identity.
So even though, like you said, shit gets boring a lot quicker now, and you need novelty.
Right. The delivery needs constant reinvention because of the hyper-connected world. But the core drivers, story, emotion, community, those first principles thinking concepts, they remain constant. That's the human element.
This has been absolutely fascinating. A real deep dive into content creation in 2025. We've covered so much ground: the need for reinvention, the power of community, using short form strategically, the impact of AI.
And huge thanks again to the creators whose insights we drew on Projecta Kohli, Naz Daily, Tanay Pud, Ranveer Alabadia. Their transparency is incredibly rare and valuable in understanding the space.
Absolutely. It's not often you get such candid discussion. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you, our listener, with one final thought to chew on. Building on everything we've discussed, ask yourself this. What kind of weapon are you? A machine gun or a sniper?
Machine gun or sniper, high volume versus targeted impact.
Exactly. Are you someone who thrives on putting out a lot of content constantly, learning by doing, the machine gun approach? Or are you aiming for those big, strategic, highly impactful sniper shots, even if they're less frequent? Think about your own strengths, your aspirations in this creator economy, and let that guide your way.